Good morning, First United Methodist Church of Orlando. It's great to be here with you on this Wednesday, September 29th. We're coming up to the end of another month. Perhaps you're looking forward to October and a new month and new opportunities. Perhaps you're a little bit stressed by the things that you still wanted to get done in September and kind of feel scrambling. Perhaps you are enjoying the beginning of Florida fall. It's not unbearable out here on my front porch this morning, and cooler mornings remind us that change is in the air and perhaps encourage us to get outside and to enjoy this beautiful place where we live. The last time I came to you with a devotional, I was wearing this t-shirt and it says, "Live well, love hard." I got some feedback that people were like, "What does your shirt say?" Live well, love hard. And in the back of the shirt says, "Shine on PJ." This was a shirt that was made as a fundraiser for a family at a church I served in North Carolina. Their son PJ was born with pretty serious medical conditions, and he passed away at 10 years old. And the family, throughout the course of his life, he spent a lot of time in the hospital, in the pediatric intensive care unit. And so after he passed away, the family was still committed to going and going once a year to the intensive care unit and doing a party for the families of children that are in the ICU there. And so the family did this t-shirt fundraiser to raise money for their annual PICU, Pediatric Intensive Care Unit party. And this is just a way to remember and honor PJ in his life. And even though it's been a number of years since I have seen PJ before he died, it's been a few years since I had worked at that church, that family was still very special to me. And I was like, absolutely, I want to support this party and to kind of live the legacy of PJ, to live well, love hard, and to shine on. This month, the youth group has been reading this book called Life of the Beloved by Henry Nouwen, depending on how you pronounce his first name. And the book reminds us that all of us are beloved children of God. That it's not about what we accomplish, it's not about our accolades, it's not about the good that we do in the world, that even before we're born, we are beloved. That is our first name, that is our first identity, and perhaps our purpose in life as we age, as we go throughout our life, is to hold on to that identity of belovedness, to reclaim it when it feels like we've lost that label of belovedness. And one of the chapters talks about blessing, being blessed, that we are blessed as the beloved. And Nouwen reminds us that when you translate the word blessed from the Latin, it means to speak good of each other, to speak well, to speak good things about each other. So think about at the end of our worship services, we offer a benediction, we offer a blessing. And we believe that these words are kind of God's words spoken to us, spoken through the preacher or whoever is offering the blessing, that we're a conduit of God's good words being spoken over us and to us and spoken for us. And so we receive that. But in those moments, it's also, we say this blessing to each other, that we're also speaking good for each other, speaking good things about each other. We're speaking that we want good for each other. And maybe not just us that are in the room at the end of a worship service, but that we take that blessing out into the world, to speak good, to speak the truth, to remind each other that we, all of us, whether we go to church or not, right? Like all of us are God's beloved children. So in this chapter on blessing, Nouwen is talking about that. And sometimes that's hard for us to hear. Sometimes we're like, I don't know if God speaks good to me or about me. Sometimes we can be reminded of all the ways that we have failed and fallen short, all of the ways that we feel maybe bad about ourselves. Perhaps we've had situations in life where our view of God is not of a loving, caring parent, but of somebody that's angry towards us and wants to punish us And so if we have that view of God, it's hard to think about God speaking good of us, and speaking good things for us. And so now it says, no, like God is doing that. God is blessing you. Whether we know it or not, whether we receive the blessing or not, God is blessing us. And so my first question for us is, do you believe God speaks good of you? Do you believe that? Do you want God to speak good of you? Because God is, and God is doing that. God does do that. But do you believe that? And now it says there are two ways for us to receive the blessing that God has for us. The first is through prayer. And for now, when he's talking about using prayer or praying in order to kind of be reminded of how God blesses us or speaks good of us, he's not necessarily talking about all the words that we say in conversation to God in prayer. It's not about us speaking to God. It's about us sitting and listening for the voice of love that reminds us that we are beloved, that reminds us that God is speaking good of us. We hear the good that God is speaking to us each day. And so for now, it's sit every day in silence and listen for that voice of love. If you're not hearing the voice of love, you haven't sat long enough, and you're not really listening. You're not hearing God because God is always speaking the voice of love. So I encourage you today, even take a minute, right? A minute to just sit and be still and silent and listen for that voice of love. The second way that we can receive God's blessing for us is through presence. And presence, mindfulness, sometimes we talk about that, being not thinking about the future, right? Not being so obsessed with what's to come and not dwelling so much on the past, but being in the moment, paying attention, looking for how God is at work in this moment right around us, cultivating practices of gratitude for the things that we have in our lives that we're receiving. And Nouwen writes this in his book: the attentive presence can allow us to see how many blessings there are for us to receive. The blessings of the poor who stop us on the road, the blessings of the blossoming trees and fresh flowers that tell us about new life, the blessings of music, painting, sculpture, and architecture, all of that. But most of all, the blessings that come to us through words of gratitude, encouragement, affection, and love. These many blessings do not have to be invented. They are there, surrounding us on all sides, but we have to be present to them and receive them. They don't force themselves on us. They are gentle reminders of that beautiful, strong, but hidden voice of the one who calls us by name and speaks good things about us. So as I'm sitting here in this chair, there's a bee that's fluttering by. And I mean, I'm not allergic to bees, and if I were, maybe I would feel differently. But I see the bee fluttering around, and I think about the pollination that bees do, and I'm grateful for that, because that means that there are flowers and there are fruit and vegetables for us to enjoy later on. I'm sitting out here, and it's a beautiful morning. The sun is shining, and it's a little bit cooler, and there's a little less humidity, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for fall that's upon us, and for pumpkin spice lattes, and for soon-to-be sweater weather, maybe, in Florida. I'm grateful for all of that. But most of all, I'm grateful for the people in my life, the people who are patient with me, who love me, and continue to walk through life with me. I'm grateful for family and friends, and I'm grateful for First Church Orlando. I'm grateful for the new life that I see happening in our church, and while it's not fully there yet, I'm seeing like these little like springing up little sprouts of new life in our church and in our congregation, and I'm grateful for all of that. So friends, today, what are you grateful for? How are you being present to the blessings that are around you? How are you noticing those blessings? and taking time to acknowledge them and receive them as what they are, blessings from God. God speaking good to you and speaking good things about you. You are loved. Look forward to seeing you around church, and we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye-bye.